Welcome to the Raptor News Channel. Israel's secret raid on the heart of Hamas. The shock attack on the top Hamas officials has begun. All positions have been identified and Israeli planes have spotted the targets. The great pressure began, so Hezbollah fired hundreds of missiles into Israeli territory and the ground operation began. The Hezbollah terrorist organization officially entered Israeli territory, but the Israeli army ordered an all-out operation on the border. Snipers carried out the most successful attack of the last period. Tension in the region has increased more than ever. In this process, Iran is on high alert and ballistic missiles are being dispatched to the south of Iran. However, the Israeli army does not seem to stop. The 2 points where Israel's ground operation will begin were imaged for the first time. Here for you, we have analyzed the most important news of the day. Let's start our video with our first news without wasting time. The most special raid of the Israeli-Palestinian war took place. Israeli scout officer lieutenant took action to raid the southern brigade of Hamas. At first light, the lieutenant advanced south of the Israeli-Palestinian border. Then, wearing the uniform of the Hamas organization, he crossed into the Gaza Strip. After this process, he started to collect information from the region for about a week and infiltrated among the members of the organization. The points where Hamas members were located were identified one by one for 1 week, and the Israeli lieutenant gained the trust of Hamas members by speaking Arabic. The 1-week process ended today, and the big news officially came. The Israeli lieutenant advanced to the Rafah region and started to work with the members of the organization on the border. He convinced the members of the organization in the Hamas tunnels near the Rafah borderline by speaking Arabic and made them come out. Later, he neutralized 8 Hamas members coming out of the tunnel in the region. After this process, the scout officer may have crossed into Israeli territory through Egypt. The closest border point to Rafah and Israel is about 5 kilometers. For this reason, it seems difficult for him to have traveled directly to the Israeli border. Because when gunshots are not heard, the characteristics of Hamas individuals in the region are determined. In this process, after the incident is realized, the roads that can go to Israel can be held quickly. However, it is very difficult for Hamas to enter through the Egyptian border. I think there were a lot of negotiations with the lieutenant who was working with Israeli intelligence to ensure easy passage across the Egyptian border. But this secret attack was the first step in the biggest air operation of the war. On his return to Israel, the lieutenant disclosed all vital information about Hamas to the army. Shortly afterwards, the preparations were finalized, the pilots were briefed, and the Israeli warplanes took off. The target of the warplanes was the southern brigade of the Hamas organization. In the process, the warplanes destroyed more than 200 separate targets. The strikes targeted luxury skyscrapers where Hamas officials held meetings. After completing the attacks, the warplanes returned to Israeli territory. After this process, the critical statement came from the United States intelligence. Mabdou Shalabi, a senior official of the Hamas Special Naval Forces, who organized a large part of the terrorist attacks on Israeli territory over the sea, was successfully neutralized as a result of the attack of warplanes. The Iranian-backed organization lost about 10 senior officials in 10 days as a result of airstrikes. Hamas's high casualties mobilized the Hezbollah terrorist organization in the north. It was detected that 20 rockets were fired from Hardov to the Metula area of Israel. With the activation of the air warning systems, all of the rockets were destroyed by Iron Dome. However, the Hezbollah organization troops deployed on the critical height in the region and started to attack the Israeli outposts on the borderline with a large number of mortars. Approximately 60 Hezbollah members were identified on the Hardov border. After the unmanned aerial vehicles started to actively collect images, Israeli artillery units were observed approaching the area. For exactly 1 hour, Israeli artillery shelled the area where Israeli territory was fired upon. As a result of the images broadcast by the unmanned aerial vehicle, it was announced that all of the air cannons were destroyed, and approximately 15 of the Hezbollah members were neutralized. In this process, Hezbollah members retreated with losses, but Israel needs to take more measures on the borderline. because the Hezbollah organization will attack again from close to the borderline. On the other hand, the satellite images released created a shock. The Israeli army has completed its preparations for the biggest land operation of the period. The army can be seen even in satellite images. Last week, Israel's land operations were postponed due to heavy rain and wind. However, in the 1-week period, the Israeli army completed its preparations. Satellite images show that the Gaza Strip is surrounded. However, the density is clearly noticeable at 2 points during this process. Apart from these 2 points, Israeli units are stationed at points further away from the Gaza border. A large number of Israeli tanks, armored vehicles, and thousands of soldiers are deployed in the Be'eri area, 3 kilometers north of the area where Hamas launched the first attack. Secondly, another large part of the Israeli army's strength is near the Erez border crossing. There are about 60 Israeli tanks, armored vehicles, and bulldozers around the Erez border crossing. As you can see on the map, it seems that Israeli forces will enter Gaza through 2 points. A very fast breakthrough attempt may take place through Be'eri. In this operation, I think that the Israeli army will try to make progress until the coastline. In this way, the Gaza Strip will be divided exactly in half. Then, I think that the second assault unit will enter through the Erez border crossing and advance simultaneously from the south, east, and north of Gaza. In addition, if the Israeli forces can advance from Be'eri to the coastline, they may want to advance northwards along the coastline. In this process, the aim will be to encircle Gaza from 4 points. On the other hand, Iron Dome air defense systems will be actively involved in this operation. In addition, it seems that Israeli artillery and fighter jets will have a great task. To summarize, the Israeli lieutenant's ghost raid changed the course of the war. Based on the vital information provided by the lieutenant, airstrikes were launched. As a result of the airstrikes, one of the authorized figures of Hamas was neutralized and Hamas continued to lose power. The Hezbollah terrorist organization, on the other hand, is trying to create a distraction in order to reduce the pressure on Hamas. In this process, they fired a large number of rockets into Israeli territory and organized attacks with mortars. But I can say that the counterattack of the Israeli army was very violent. In addition, the countdown for the ground operation of the Israeli army has officially begun. The big operation can start at any moment. Tension on the borderline has risen considerably. We will continue to convey the events in the following hours to you quickly and accurately. We continue to convey the events to you objectively. You can like videos to support us. You can also subscribe to the channel to make it easier to follow new videos. I wish you all happy days. See you soon.